right, today, Unit 7, Lesson 4, still working with equivalent ratios and recipes. Today we're going to look at making a smaller batch of something. So, learning target. I can explain the meaning of equivalent ratios using a recipe as an example. Usually, when Elena makes bird food, she mixes 9 cups of seeds with 6 tablespoons of maple syrup. So notice on top I have seeds in cups. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 circles. That represents 9 cups of seeds. Down below there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. That represents 6 tablespoons of maple syrup. However, today she is short on ingredients. We need to think of a recipe that would yield a smaller batch of bird food but still tastes the same. And then we're going to show our reasoning, right? So she's not going to just use whatever she has on hand. She wants to make bird food that tastes the same because her birds love it, right? So what we're going to look for is smaller repeating patterns that are occurring here, right? Yep, it's 9 cups of seeds. Yep, it's 6 tablespoons of maple syrup. But if I add in, see if I can find it. Oh, there's a scribble. I'm on my computer today, so it's a little bit trickier. If I add in some lines, I want to see if I can make equal groups. So if I add on a line here, there's 2 cups of seeds. Here's 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. All right, let's do it again. Here's 2 cups of seeds. Here's 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Great. Okay, I'm going to keep on going. Here's 2 cups of seeds. Here's 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. But you might see that there's some extra cups of seeds here. So while this all tastes the same, she hasn't used all of the seeds here, right? So when we make these recipes, right, this recipe wouldn't taste the same as using 9 cups of seeds and 6 tablespoons of maple syrup because we've got this extra group. For it to taste the same, each group needs to look the same. And this fourth group, right, does not look the same. Okay, so what if instead of trying to make 4 groups, I try to make 3 groups, right? So that would mean I'd have 2 here. I'd have 2 on the end. Whoa! And then I'd have 2 here in the middle. This is my 3 equal groups of maple syrup. Could I take the seeds on top and put them into 3 equal groups? I could. It's not going to be 2 in each group. It's going to be 3 in each group. So there's one. Here's one. And you can see now there's the last one, right? So if I wanted to make this recipe, I could say I need 3 cups of seeds to go with 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I can say, I'll do it again. 3 cups of seeds, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and 3 cups of seeds, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. There's nothing left over, right? And every group is exactly the same. So this recipe would taste the same as having a gigantic recipe where you use all the seeds and all the maple syrup. But we could do this again in a different way. This time, I'm going to be a little bit sneakier and say, I'm going to make a really small batch. And in that small batch, I'm going to have only 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. So I'm going to do that again. Another tablespoon. So this is going to be my second batch. Here's going to be my third batch. Here's going to be my 4th batch. Here's going to be my 5th batch. And here's going to be my 6th batch. And what's tricky is that up here I've got 9 cups of seeds, and dividing them into 6 equal groups is a little bit harder because 9 divided by 6 isn't a whole number, right? But one way I could think about this is dividing it into thirds first. Whoops, try that again. Here we go. Divide it into thirds first. Okay, so you can see 3 groups of 3. So because 6 is double 3, what I could do now is take this group of 3 and cut it exactly in half. So I'm going to cut right down the middle here, or as close as I can. Oh boy, that didn't work out very well. Let's try again. You can hear my cat in the background making some noise. She thinks it's time for a special dinner. All right, let's try this again here. I'm going to cut this group right in half as close as I can. And then I'm going to keep on going and say this cup and a half of seeds is going to go with this tablespoon of maple syrup. This cup and a half of seeds, boop, is going to go with this tablespoon of maple syrup. All right, cut this in half. This cup and a half of seeds is going to go with this tablespoon of maple syrup. Clicking the wrong button there. Try again. This cup and a half of seeds is going to go with this tablespoon of maple syrup. Cut it in half. This cup and a half of seeds is going to go with this tablespoon of maple syrup. Awesome. This is going slow. It's on my computer today. And this cup and a half of seeds is going to go with this tablespoon of maple syrup. So what that means is that this ratio is also equivalent, right? So first we had 9 cups of seeds to 6 tablespoons of syrup. That a little bit bigger. That was the original picture. Now our picture shows 1.5 cups of seeds to 1 tablespoon of syrup. Because each group looks exactly the same, this makes a bird seed recipe or bird food recipe that tastes the same as that first one where we had all 9 and all 6. Right? I'm going to copy this here and I'm going to move this back onto slide 3. Right? We started with 9 cups of seeds to 6 tablespoons of syrup. The picture now shows 3 cups of seeds, right? 3 purple dots for every, or to every, 2 squares or tablespoons of maple syrup. 3 cups of seeds, 2 tablespoons of syrup. 3 cups of seeds, 2 tablespoons of syrup. All right, before you go on to Desmos, some things that I've noticed. When you are asked to draw a diagram, you actually need to draw to get credit for that page. Some people are just typing in their answers. I know that it's not a perfect system, right? But this unit requires that all students are drawing to represent their understanding. So here's what I mean. Here's an example that a student turned in for one of our last assignments. It says, draw a diagram to show how many batches you can make with 15 cups of flour and 6 teaspoons of vanilla, right? I can see 15 squares for the flour, I can see 6 squares for the vanilla, and they grouped them together and wrote an answer. This looks great, right? Here's an example that would not get you credit. I can't see a diagram. It says 1 blob is 5 flour and 2 vanilla, you can make 3, right? I can kind of see what you're trying to do, because I can read the words, right? But this is not a diagram. This is just a bunch of drawing on a page. I really need to see repeated shapes and circles, right? Show me where the groups are. Right? If you turn in something like this, I can't give you full credit because this is not a diagram. So one more contrast. If you're unsure if you're doing your drawings correctly, come to the help desk from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Use the code GAP, GAP-U, nope, that should say GAP6, GAP6 VLS, GAP6 VLS. The drawing on the left is worth full points. Anytime that you attempt to show that we're comparing something to something else, you'll get full points, right? But if all you do is write in a sentence form or draw a diagram that doesn't show that comparison, I can't give you credit and you will lose points. Again, if you're not sure if what you're doing is correct, come to the help desk from 3 to 4 p.m. and the code is GAP6 VLS.